Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first annual Trauma Recovery Coaching Summit, sponsored by the International Association of Trauma Recovery Coaching. I'm Bobby Parrish, the Executive Director of the association.
And I'm Sarah Parrish, the Deputy Director.
I am so happy that you are here to watch our 5 days filled with interviews from the coaches that are part of the International Association. And I want to remind you that you should practice excellent self-care while you're listening to some of these videos because the content can be triggering.
And today we have the honour of welcoming Jade Eby, and she is here to talk to us about expressive writing. Hi Jade, how are you doing?
Hi guys, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good.
Really well, thank you so much. So can you just start us off and just let all our viewers know what is expressive writing?
Yeah, it's a practice of writing that is really designed to help people dig deeper into their personal reflection. This quote by Kay Adams, she is the director of the Center for Journal Therapy, and she's done a lot of research and a lot of work in this area, and I really think that she nails the whole overall expressive writing experience with this quote. And she says, I define expressive writing as writing that reflects honest thought, feelings that are authentic, lived experiences with a side of insight. So in this definition, you know, trauma and stress are excellent topics, but so are hopes, dreams, successes, troubles, ideas, everyday normals that comprise a life. And I really love that quote because I feel like it does encompass everything that expressive writing is and does for someone.
So what is it? How can expressive writing help people to heal?
That's a great question. A lot of people don't really realize that when you're being very specific in your writing, that comes with intention. So by its very nature, expressive writing is done looking inward, and whether you know it right out or it's a subconscious thing, the more you do it, the more you learn about yourself, your goals, your fears, etc. So, you know, through expressive writing, we begin to understand ourselves, we begin to understand the world, and then we take that hard work and make sense of it during emotional upheavals. And being able to do that is a sign of growth, and, you know, growth is recovery. So, you know, when you do expressive writing, you've already done so much of your hard work just by trusting and putting yourself onto that page.
That's fantastic. You know, we had an interview with Kimberly Weeks, one of our other coaches, and she was talking about leaving relationships that are toxic. And one of the things she talked about was in preparing to leave, we have to look inside ourselves and figure out, why are we here? What's happening? What do we need to do for ourselves in order to get out of this relationship and stay out of it? And what you're talking about, what you just said right there, to me sounds like a powerful tool to use in that process.
Yes, absolutely. It covers a gamut of, you know, all kinds of traumatic situations, and both external and internal traumas.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you think people should do expressive writing, Jade? You know, is it, you know, can you do it just like a one-off thing, or can you do it like, do you kind of plan yourself to do it every week to make it effective, or?
Yeah, so I think that establishing an expressive writing practice is the best way to get the benefits. And my advice for starting, because it can be pretty overwhelming when someone first starts to research and explore journaling, you know, and my advice is just do your research, learn as much as you can about expressive writing, because you'll come to find out that almost every type of writing can be a vehicle for expressive writing. What I mean by that is script writing, novels, comic books, blog posts, poetry, lyrics. They all, can become a way to do expressive writing. So you need to find what is comfortable for you as a writer and as someone who wants to explore those deeper issues. What makes you safe? And once you find, you feel comfortable enough with that research, you can often find a guided journal or even a workshop that allows you to learn the process in a more guided and structured way than if you went off and did it on your own.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So what's the difference between expressive writing and then just like normal writing?
That's a great question, Sarah. The shortest answer is that expressive writing is structured, specific, and it really centers around self-improvement, while all other kinds of writing fall under different spectrums of intent. So a good example is, when you sit down to write a paper for a class, you have a very clear intent. You often even have, requirements that you're trying to meet. Whereas with expressive writing, the intent is that it is solely for you. The intent is, you go into it and you are never expected to share it. You're never expected to have any other expectations other than it is your truth. And that is a very powerful thing especially for survivors when, society tells us, you need to be at a certain standard to publish a blog post, or, you need to fall under these guidelines in order to publish a novel. Expressive writing does not have any expectations. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't judge. It's just a page that is there for you and you alone.
So if I wanted to start a practice of expressive writing, what would that look like?
So I actually developed a 2-week challenge based on this because I realized that, it is so overwhelming and people don't know where to start. And what I love about the 2-week challenge is that it starts small. So I wanted to find a way to show people how they could start a practice just by doing one small commitment a day. I wanted to, show that the people who said, no, I'm not, I'm not into journaling, that they could do it, if they put their mind to it. So, the 2-week challenge is 2 weeks of journal writing, 14 days of, expressive writing every single day. But the trick is chunking it down. And that's like one of my favorite phrases is when in doubt, chunk it down. So what I mean by that is that the challenge starts with 1 minute. 1 minute. And I don't care who you are. I have never encountered a person who could admit that they could not write for at least 1 minute. Everyone can write for 1 minute. And so as, the days progress, you go from 1 minute to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, so on. And as you start getting into that 5, 6, 7 minutes, you start realizing, okay, I can do this. I've done it the last 5 days. I can definitely keep going. And before you know it, you're craving a daily journaling session. And, you have that desire to keep going. So yeah, that's how I would recommend starting is starting small. And then, I had some early beta testers who went through the challenge and they said, okay, now what? We want more. We want more stories of healing. We want more stories and prompts. We want structure. And so then that ended up being why I developed my workshop. But starting small, I think that's the key to really everything in life is baby steps.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I always find that, with me, when I do my expressive writing, I think the first step is for me to get the pen and paper and just to start it. And once I've started it, you open up a box and then you open up and you just carry on, don't you? Just
Yes.
More and more just comes out and comes out sort of thing. So
Exactly. I think that the biggest difference between journaling and expressive writing is that for a lot of people approaching that blank page is kind of like asking someone to share their deepest secrets, but without any guidance. And that's why expressive writing is like so different from just blanket journaling, because there is a bit of safety and containment and structure there.
And by doing that, it feels safer.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So how do you use expressive writing, Jade, with your clients? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I initially didn't realize how amazingly well this could work in a coaching environment, but it has just blown my mind. As you know, traditional coaching is approached with a live one-to-one session where, talking is the main form of communication. But what expressive writing, or I should call expressive writing coaching, does is it flips that. Writing becomes the main form of communication and discussion becomes the secondary part. So, what I've realized is that some survivors, they're just not ready to approach recovery in the traditional coaching method. So, exactly like you said, it doesn't feel safe to them quite yet. So by integrating expressive writing into coaching, survivors may feel like they can communicate more safely and honestly through writing and creative expression. I think this is especially true for survivors who have been silenced. They have not yet found a way to find their voice. And sometimes it's easier to do that when you're writing versus verbally talking to someone. So the page is a really great way to start that process.
Okay. So would you give them a specific exercise?
Yes.
To start with?
Yep. So depending on the great thing about expressive writing, because it is so structured, is that if you are trained in therapeutic and coaching methods, you intuitively realize which exercises will help your client reach a certain goal. For example, let's say I have a client who has body image issues and we're working towards improving that. One of my favorite exercises that I would give to that client is what I call the love letter. And what they do is they write a love letter to certain areas of their body, and by doing that process and by being really honest, they can learn to appreciate the parts of their body that, have previously given them grief or trauma. And then on the flip side of that, I have worked with a client who has terrible, terrible migraines. And what I suggested to her is to write what I call the hate letter. So on the flip side of love, there's the hate letter. And this is her opportunity. She wrote to her migraines and, said, I hate you. I hate the way you make me feel. And getting that out was so helpful for her to express and have the page, again, understand, because the page doesn't judge. And, she knows her migraines aren't going to talk back, but it felt good to release that emotion.
I love what you said. The page doesn't judge.
Yes. Yep. Page does not judge.
Doesn't judge. So if, say I'm not ready to work yet with a coach, how can I start to build an expressive writing practice on my own?
Yeah, there are lots and lots of different avenues you can explore. You can, like I said, do some research and find the methods, and there's a lot of different ways to approach expressive writing because it is so all-encompassing. So doing research, there are many guided journals out there. So I think a good example is 100 Days of Gratitude. If gratitude is definitely a way that you like to express yourself, then that is a great way to start a practice because it will guide you each day. The difference is what you don't want to do is buy a blank journal and not have any structure. That's the worst thing you can do. So don't buy a blank journal unless you have something to accompany it. Buy a guided journal, or there are workshops online. The free challenge, 2-week challenge, is a great way for you to experience expressive writing for a 2-week time period. And yeah, I mean, there's a ton of information. You just have to be willing to look for it.
So where would I get a guided journal? Would be that something I could open up Amazon?
Absolutely. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, I believe Target even has, you know, some different versions. You know, and again, it's really dependent on the kind of person you are. A great example is like this. This is it wouldn't fall necessarily under a guided journal, but it is creative expression, and it's asking very detailed questions like, what do you want from your life 12 years from now, and what fears are holding you back from getting there? So even though it's in a, you know, a more artistic way, it still counts because it is getting you to look inward.
I love it. Your
That
cat
would be
loves
my-
it too.
Yeah, that would be my cat.
Just adding his or her 2 cents into
Yes,
the
exactly.
conversation.
Yeah.
But I can just see so much benefits for help for people, you know, for your clients, for anybody, you know, doing expressive writing. And then the one thing you said, you know, it gives you a voice,
Yes.
which is, you know, it's huge. You know, what other benefits can you see that it gives you?
It is a great indicator of progress, which again is one of growth and progress are both really big, important parts of recovery. And, you know, writing is has the unique ability to capture those moments in time where a lot of other things don't. So you can look back, for example, over the last 5 years, if you started a, you know, expressive writing practice, you can look back and see one of your entries and say, wow, that was a really hard time in my life. And look, I'm here now, I've made it. And same thing with, you know, upheavals and happy moments. You can look back and read that entry where you talked about being grateful for the sunshine and the tulips and the birds singing. And just for a minute, you can even think, yeah, I am. I'm still really thankful for those things. So it's just an incredible way to see your progress and to mark the occasions and the seasons of your life.
Yeah, and just to remind people, we're not talking about you needing to sit down for 30 minutes every day and invest in this expressive writing.
Right. Yes, that's a great reminder, because I think that's what scares a lot of people is the commitment. And again, you know, the page doesn't care if you write for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. You know, it's concerned with getting down the writing that will help you move on. And if you can do that in 5 minutes, that's all you need. If you need 10, 15 minutes to get out, you know, what you're feeling, use it. And, you know, it may change. You may be able to write for 5 minutes one day, and then, you know, maybe on a particularly tough day, you need 30 minutes. The whole point of expressive writing is that you get to decide. You get to decide what works for you, how much time, what you're writing, who you show it to. It is the only form of expression that you can do for yourself and not be influenced by anything else.
Yes. So like Sarah said, it's a way to use your voice, but it's also a way to exercise choice and power.
Exactly. And that is very powerful for survivors who have previously had, you know, their choices or their, you know, desires squashed and silenced. It's, you know, I can't remember the saying, something about they can take everything away from me, but they can't take my memories or something, dreams, whatever that is. That's essentially how I relate expressive writing is, you know, all these things can be going on around you, but you still have that safe space to say and do and be whatever you want.
I love it. I love that. Okay, so I just want to go back to one other thing that passed through my head. You were talking about how with expressive writing in a coaching practice, that the primary form of communication becomes the writing.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm thinking if I want to, begin to do this expressive writing, I'll have my coach. What if I want to write about some things that I don't want to share with you? I'm not ready to.
Yeah, that's one of the cardinal rules of expressive writing, is that you get to decide when and where and who you share that writing with. The secondary benefits of expressive writing is actually reflecting on what you've written. That's where a lot of the powerful healing takes place. So in that example, Bobby, if I were to ask you to write something and you get done and you're like, I do not feel comfortable sharing this. When you come to session, what I might do is say, okay, that's great, you're not going to share, but tell me how you feel. How did it feel writing that story or that prompt? How did it feel when you were done? Did it make you upset? Did it, did you feel a sense of relief? So we're talking about the writing without talking about what exactly you've written. And it's a way to share your story and talk about issues that, maybe you're not quite as comfortable doing yet, but we're still making progress, and that's what's important.
I love that. I love so much of what you're talking about, Jade. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this with us. But the next thing I want to know is, where can our viewers find you, and what is it that you offer in your coaching practice that involves this expressive writing that might, if a viewer is sitting there going, wow, that sounds amazing, I want to do that, what is it that they can contact you about?
Yeah, so anyone can find me on my website, which is jadeebycoaching.com. And my Facebook, all my social media is, if you just search at Jade Eby Coaching, you will find me. And as far as working with me, I just am so passionate about coaching, and especially in integrating this writing technique into coaching. So I have a few different options. I wanted to give people a quote unquote taste of what it's like to do expressive writing. And so you can hop on my website and sign up for the 2-week challenge. They kind of go in spurts. So if you get on there and it's already passed or we're midway through, don't fear, I'll be running another one. And if you are more interested in just, jumping in and going for it, you can also do my workshop, which is a 4-week workshop, and we do a deep dive into expressive writing, actual techniques and why they work, and establishing your practice of expressive writing.
Okay.
And then, of course, go ahead.
When you say workshop, you mean you and then more than just me, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's a group of writers, and we gather online, and we actually do the prompts live together, including me. That's one of the rules, is that when you're doing expressive writing, whether it's coaching one-on-one, coaching in a group, or a workshop, you are participating as well. So in this workshop, we'll get together, we'll do the assignments, and then you can share if you feel comfortable. If not, we just talk about the process and how did it feel to write that? How does it feel to start a practice? So that's coming up, and you can find all of that information on my website. And then, of course, one-to-one coaching, and you can find more information about that by going to my Work With Me page on my website.
Yes, and just a tidbit of information, Jade is one of the coaches that is in our supervisor training program, so she knows her stuff.
Thanks, Bobby.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jade. This is just absolutely amazing. It's really, well, I'm definitely encouraged to get my expressive writing going more now as well. So
awesome. That is so inspiring.
It is. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So I just want to say thank you to all our viewers today for our interview with Jade. I hope we are all enjoying the rest of the summit, and we hope to see you soon in our other videos. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.